Now live search process, guys. Now you have completed the concepts which are required to be understood before when we get into the search process. Now we are going to work on a live database. Alright, but before that also there are certain things that you should understand and that you should consider before getting into the live search part. I'll be also sharing the database screen right now, but once when I explain that concepts, right? I'll share my screen to make you understand first the conceptual part that you are required to consider when you are going to perform live search analysis. I'll just share my screen. Now, live search process using of India database for undertaking TNMM RPM search and quantitative filtering on Kaplan database. That is what we are going to do today. Now, before we get into the search part, there are certain technical terms that you are required to understand. Why I am making you understand this before getting into the Kaplan database is because the database, the front end of the database could be of various, there could be there could be differences in the front end of the database, but the fundamentally you are required to perform three processes on the database. First is you are required to build the query, right? That's we call the query building process. That is where you provide certain inputs, right? Now what are these inputs? How you provide that inputs? So in that particular thing there are two parts. First you need to select the module or the activity which you need to from where you can which type of module you need to select, and from where you can get the relevant data, that is the data for your comparable company. Some of the modules which I usually use in Capitaline is industry type, business sector, product service segment, or NIC activity. So these are the four modules which I generally keep using when I am undertaking search on Capitaline. In case if you are using other database such as Prowess or ASTP or any other global database, you are required to understand that how the query is getting or how the query is required to be built up. Technically, under this module there will be various keywords that you would be required to select, right? So once when they upload the financial data, they would have selected certain amount of keywords, right? Depending on this type of modules like industry, business sector, product or service segment, or NIC activity, right? So that is how you need to select the modules first that you are going to undertake. This will be the judgment which you are required to make, right? So when you use the database, but the main part is query building. How you give your inputs is of relevance, right? Now how to select the keywords and taking screenshot at each stage. So when you are building this query, you are also required to take the screenshots so that your data sanctity is maintained. There are no, so once when you deal with a public database, you need to understand that you have to be thorough with the numbers. Your number of comparable companies, the output of database should match. So at times it may happen that one of the keyword has remained to be selected, and that is where the number of comparables, that is number of companies in the data set, will change when you again run the search, right, for the next time. So it is better to take screenshot at each and every position. Also, why it is better to take a screenshot when you are working with database is because sometimes the transfer pricing officers may ask for screenshots also. They need to see and check the time at which this particular search was undertaken, because at times it happens that certain consultants may undertake search on database after preparing and filing of transfer pricing this form 3C EB, right? And that is where they are required to also assess that whether at the time of filing 3C EB you had already undertaken search or not. So what positions, on what basis you have took, on what basis you took the positions under form 3C EB, or so that is what the transfer pricing officer will be understanding. So for that, for justifying that particular thing, also the screenshots can be used, and they can ask for that screenshots also when you have run that search on database. Now how to select the keywords. Now there is you need to understand that I need to keep a very broad vision when I am selecting a data, right? Ultimately I am going to filter out, I am going to run comparability analysis. After that also, that is quantitative filters I am going to apply, qualitative filters I am going to apply, but I need to keep a broad vision, right? If I'm selecting an industry type, now for example if I'm going ahead with the tire industry, all right, so where my particularly my client is into manufacturing of tires, then I should select tire industry also, and I may go ahead and also select a similar probably truck tires industry. Now my client is involved into manufacturing of a moped or two-wheelers tires, but I have to select that company which is also into manufacturing of a truck tire. So basically that industry or segment or business sector, I have to keep my broad I have to keep my vision broad, so that I can get more number of companies in this entire list, right? The aim is to get more number of companies, and then after you can place the quantitative filters, and then after you can remove that data, right? So that is what we need to do first. Second thing is most relevant keywords if available. Obviously, you have to also search for the most relevant keywords which are available. If in your case the keywords are not available, then you can select the next most nearby keyword for that particular activity or product which your client is selling, right? Then after taking screenshots, as I said that you need to take screenshots at each and every step of process. So what you can do is you can open up the PPT, blank PPT file, and then after there is a print screen button on this particular keypad or on keyboard of your laptop or your desktop. There will be print screen button, so you can click that button and you can directly copy paste that part into that particular PPT file. We'll see this how we need to also take the screenshots from the database when we are building the query. And sometimes you should also have a habit of saving the peer set in database. So in big organizations, or in mid firms also, this may happen that more than one manager is working on clients under transfer pricing. So that is where they are using that database frequently. So sometimes it may also happen that that particular search is required to be run again by the manager. So that is where they will save the peer set. Peer set is nothing but set of data and query which you have undertaken on database, and databases do provide that services for saving of that set on their cloud platforms, right? So you have to save the peer set also in the database. This is how you need to understand the query building process. This is all about query building process. Now after the query is being built, then you need to select the inbuilt database filter, that is using of key filters depending on the base data set. Like as we already discussed that there are quantitative filters, that is financial data which is available on the database, and then there are quantitative filters which are inbuilt in the database only, that you have to select, and appropriately the query which you have built will get run in the database, and it will always filter out that particular part, and appropriately you can get the resultant output from the database. What are certain common filters that you should always use in a database is, first is financial data availability. You need to check whether that particular company's data is available or not. So that is also an inbuilt filter which is available in capital line. You also in other database also that is available. You need to understand when you when you perform that database, when you use that database and perform search on that particular database, you will be able to understand that part also, and you can check from their support team as well that how to build that particular query when you run that search, right? Then there is consecutive loss making entities also. So this type of filter is also available, where you can find that in that span of this particular 2 years, if the companies which have made consecutive losses, then you can use this particular part as well. Then consecutive negative net worth, right? So this is also available in the database, and then you can filter it out those companies, and you can you can select only the companies which have positive net worth, which are not loss making, where the financial data is available. Then companies that have turnover less than INR 1 crore. So these are my recommendations which I do in the these are common things which I keep doing in which I'll keep selecting in database, so that I get the relevant output, right, for qualitative analysis. So first part is quantitative analysis, where we are filtering out basis certain quantitative details, right? The second part will be qualitative analysis, and the fourth filter is that companies that has substantial, that is more than 25% of transaction value with the related parties. So right, so this type of filters I'll be using once I build my. So first process is query building. The second process is I am selecting some filters, and then I am taking out the data. I am refining the data, filtering out the data, and the final thing is whatever the output which comes, I need to save that output. I need to save the screenshots, and I need to prepare a set of final filter companies, that is accepted companies, as also have to prepare a set of the companies which has been rejected on account of some or the other filters. That is what the reasons for rejections would be. We will see this entire thing practically, right? I am going to open my database in the next video, where we will start from inputting the query, that is we'll understand how to build the query, then after how to place the filters, and then how to save the output, and appropriately at each and every process we will be taking the screenshot. There will be also a couple of files. I have already kept certain files below this video, or probably in the next video I am keeping that files, so that you can access that, and then you can understand that how that entire search process is being undertaken on a database. I'll catch you in the next video when I'm going to deal with live database. Thank you.